Now here we are back in the forest. I would bet this is right on the border of Luapa. And there's a nest. And you could see that they're not green. So they're probably, that's probably 2 weeks old, 10 days old. Then sometimes you look up and you could tell that it was built the night before, because every night they build one. They build a nest. And sometimes, a lot of times, they return to the same area. So you see like a 3-week-old nest next to a new one. So seeing any nest is actually a good sign that you're close to a favorite area. So here we are. Like that, it's probably 10 days old. But you go right under that and suddenly you'd find a lot of freshly eaten pits and whatnot, indicating they had just been there. This is later in the trip. This is towards the end outside Ila 2. And one night the villagers found out I was getting married soon. And so they gathered together, and Labuta organized this particular part of it, where these 3 kids are taking part in a light candle ceremony, meaning sort of like good luck and for me in my upcoming wedding. Now they're singing to me. And I'm laughing like a boob. And now, this is the quote-unquote bachelor party that Jo Thompson, she went to Ila too, and now they came over and they're doing this basically marriage dance for me. And this guy is the band leader, and you can't see it there, but his sweatshirt says Snow Bunny. And he was, they were so good. Here we are. We're in Luapa with the elders, and we're going to ask them if I could talk to them, interview them, but it's a very long process that involves a lot of showing of respect, which is, you got to show, and that's a key guy right there, and you got to give tributes like this, juice and soap and, shoe polish. And then one of the things we want to do is Jo Thompson wants to take DNA samples of the dog's saliva. There are all these dogs running around, and it's a sign of wealth. Basically, a really healthy hunting dog is like having a BMW in the States. So she wants to take the saliva for this DNA study in Sweden of the migration of dogs. And now Lubuta's explaining what we want to do, and they're like, have no comprehension why this guy wants to stick a stick in their dog's mouth. They think, and they're just like, these guys, we always thought they were weird. Now we know they're insane. Now he just finished explaining, and they're like, you gotta be kidding. What do they think?
What do they think?
They think it's funny. She's being polite. They think, we're totally insane. Fools, basically. So they're making fun of us. They loved it. Now we're going to go on a village hunt called a Jita, and before they do, this is they bring spears, they bring nets, and they also do a village dance. There are the arrows, and they all make that. They make them themselves, obviously. They don't trade for them. And that guy he's the horn blower, as I call him in the piece. And they were just great. I mean, look, they're very enthusiastic. They're there and they're about to go on the hunt. And the guys love going out on the hunts together. And they would go and it'd be like the same 40 guys and their dogs. And here we are. We're out now. It's probably about 4 miles into the jungle, and the nets are lined up. And now they're going to run the dogs through the forest and see what the nets capture. Now I've heard screaming, so I'm running down to see what the nets capture. These guys are standing around with spears, around, and then I look down, and that's a diker, which is a forest antelope, which is smaller than a regular antelope, but that's a pretty decent sized one. I think it might be like a blue diker, that might be, I don't know. And there are the dogs, and the dog, you hear that, that's the alpha dog. He's giving a bell, and that's the bell you could hear. He just cruised right in right there. Caught 3 dikers that day. Here we are. It's the last days of the expedition, and we finally track them down. And it's really early in the morning after a huge storm. All of a sudden, the whole forest explodes. It's like pterodactyls screaming. 60 of them, and we go running to find these guys. And they're up a hillside, and we finally get underneath them, and they've scattered. It turns out there's 60, and they're very high up. So a lot of them, if they don't move, they're just little black dots. Now this guy, you can see the silhouette. He's up there.
That was his nest.
And then they would just jump and get away.
There was his nest.
And
And they crawled up there.
And it's very hard to run. And now we're under a lot of nests. We realize how many there are when we go into their nests. And all our pisters go scattering everywhere. They're so excited. They go running around. You could hear them in the background. And now I got one, and I'm like looking for him, and then he just leaps. He just makes a run for it. He goes out to the edge of a branch and jumps. And you could hear him just crash into the trees. And the guy I'm with just goes nuts. He's like, ah, and he just goes running for him. And they all were like that, and they were totally excited. And the thing to know is that's counter to everything they ever do. They're so scared of the bonobos up to that point. So in a weird way, that you're looking at a real chunk of history.